All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'll call this Dalton Township Planning Commission meeting for May 30th to order. First thing, we have a roll call. Dave, I am here. Jesse? Here. Todd? Here. Lee? Here. John? Here. Casey is excused, and Kevin? Here. Approval of the agenda. Looks like we're going to add the work session packet to the new business at the end there, so we'll make that notation. Anything else? Changes or anything? Can you give a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we got the approval of the minutes from the April 25th, 2023 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 25th, 2023. It's written.
Support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are up to public comment. We have a couple items in here tonight. We have some public hearings on there, so if you have something you'd like to speak about at that time for those, we'll call those specifically and everyone will have a chance to voice their concerns on that. We do have just a general public comment right now, which we'll open up if anyone would like to state anything. I will go ahead and open that up at 6:02. Nice public here tonight, so if no one has anything at that point, we will be moving into the close the public hearing at 6:03. First up tonight, we have 4 items here for a public hearing. The first one is for the banquet hall at 898 West McMillan Road. Why don't we go ahead and start with the people here to present their. Okay. We're going to start off here with giving the applicants an opportunity to give us a little presentation.
Absolutely. For those of you who didn't look on the agenda for the evening, we have some mapping here which is going to describe exactly what their intent to use or the specific use of the property is. This is obviously McMillan Road here and the entry access. Most of these roads are actually on the property already. But they would be putting the wedding venue, which we've outlined in different details. And this vicinity, again, much farther setback off of West McMillan. A smaller office space behind the residential parcel. And then in the future, these would be phased out developments for smaller little cabins. So that is the overall detail of what it would entail. Again, quite a ways step back. This is going to be more for the township and the requirements that they've requested for us in accordance to setbacks from both the Fred Dowd drain and all of the required setbacks for individual parcel requirements. Again, same outlining, but more detail, as you can see here. This was for the road entry detail and the road commission to ensure that everything be met in accordance to these requirements off of McMillan. So here you'll see we have outlined the aggregates that we used to a certain amount of compaction, the minimum and maximum width requirements there, to ensure that there's good egress and ingress on the road entry there. Excuse me, a little bit of a cold one as well. These are contours for requests of the health department as well as EGLE and some other people that want to see the contour mapping for all the different elevation changes to make sure that we're not interfering with any of the water and natural resources within the neighboring parcels. And also for our requirements on soil and erosion permitting. And then here is obviously all of the neighboring parcels indicating commercial zone, current residential zoned, and everything within 300-foot radius of the actual subject property. So as we discussed about a month ago, it's been maybe a little more over a month now, the Wedding and Event Center Salute and their intention of what they're trying to get specific use for. I guess, is there anything that you would want us to specifically comment upon?
No, I think that
within our outline.
we have a pretty good outline here. Is there any questions the board has for anyone on this before we open it up for the public hearing?
Okay. Is there anything you feel that we might have missed that has not been detailed within the outline of the analysis within that writing?
I don't, we got the second one, which did have the parking places and things, and I think that was,
Setbacks and all that, yep, these are not, yep.
that was something I noticed on the first one. So it looks like we have everything here. We may, at this point, we're gonna go ahead and have you take a seat, and then we'll open up the public hearing. If there were to be a question out there that you would like directed to the board, and we can direct it to them, maybe to get an answer if there's something, so that way we just keep this format kind of clicking along there. But thank you so much for the presentation.
Maybe those could be posted along the wall.
Absolutely,
I started to
Yeah.
take a look at them while they're here. So using this thing nicely done.
You guys have some extra tax by chance?
While they are going ahead and getting those placed up there, I'm gonna go and open up the public hearing at 6:06. If you do have a comment you would like to make, all we ask that you stand up, give us your name and your address, so Stephen can record that for our records here. So I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing at 6:06. Yes, sir.
She's told me what to do, huh? She told me to stand up here, right? I thought maybe they could see over, but Ted Muscat, 2949 Hamilton Road. My questions and concerns regard safety. As the first question I would like to ask, has there been an attempt to require, to get an easement to Whitehall Road, say on the north side of the gas station? Has there been an attempt to get an easement to Whitehall Road?
At this point, there is not.
Okay.
So the property is pending purchase.
Okay.
Yes, that's about.
Yeah, I'd like to, yeah, I got you. My second question would be, has there been a feasibility study done for safety reasons from the new business onto McMillan Road when there is a house here and a house here? If you look at the exit from the gas station, that almost goes into an empty lot or two businesses, if you will. That driveway would come right towards two residential areas. The attorney for the township isn't here, I'd ask. I could ask him a legal question, I take it, because he usually sits over here, right?
Not usually for all the meetings.
Okay. Well, I would ask this. If there's not an easement to Whitehall Road, there's not a study of feasibility because they have to have a certain amount of turnover to maintain their bills and to make the business grow, which means a flow of traffic from north to south or south to north on the property. Coming out of that is a straight venue. I mean, it goes right almost a little bit to the west of McMillan Road, more or less right on the edge of Karen or Judy's property there. I'm concerned about that. And I would like to know if that study isn't done. I know they've had some road commission plans done and that type thing. Does the road commission assume any liability should an accident occur at one of those homes? Does the township board or the township assume any sort of responsibility or that type of situation if something like that occurs? That really concerns me. I'm only two houses down. Judy's in a line of fire, so to speak. She's right there. I've never, you can travel down McMillan Road and you won't find a business that will have the turnover or the traffic flow that this possibly have. And if you get it, I hope you do great. Dalton Township needs some new stuff, but safety is my main concern. Are you, as commissioners, if and when you approve the sale and hereby approve the way this traffic flow will go, and I'm going to ask my wife to yield her 3 minutes so I can finish. Parliamentary procedure. Thank you. I'll take her 3. She just told me to stand up. That was 10 seconds.
You
of
really
my-
asked her, you told her, you really.
No, I didn't. I asked her earlier. 23 years. I'm not living very nice in my back then. She's deadly when she ticked. So anyway, my concern, the liability and who will assume it if this is approved and something ends up in Judy or Jack's property.
Excuse me, when you say liability, are you referring to accident, like an insurance policy or?
Yeah, along those lines.
Someone got in an accident and it's our fault or someone's fault.
That's what I would like to say. No, not that it's your fault, that there was failure to have any type of acknowledgement of how many estimated people would be going in and out of there. When you have a banquet hall, the only way for a banquet hall to be successful is to include alcohol. Alcohol, a vehicle of 3,000 to 4,000 pounds, becomes a weapon. That weapon, under the wrong usage, ends up in Judy or Jack's yard. They're not here to speak tonight. I am. I don't think a studies or a request for an easement onto a main business road, which is Whitehall Road. You can travel up and down McMillan. You go quite a ways down before you find a body shop. Very concerned about that. I mean, if you put your grandchildren in a house that Judy has or Jack, I mean, think about that. McMillan is not a main road. It isn't. It's a 2-lane access road, east and west. Where do they end up? Do you assume liability if that's given? Is there a special policy written up for that to allow that? I mean, if he was here, I'd ask him. But he's not here. That's my concern. I have grandchildren that will be playing in the lot next to mine. Maybe not at 2 o'clock in the morning, but they will be. You don't see many banquet halls that come onto a side road unless they're out in the middle of nowhere, which we are. But we have houses right there. Plus, there's a house to the west of Judy's. I don't know how much time I got left, but I'd welcome some answers to that. You're on the board. You should be willing to either possibly accept when you approve this or don't approve it or whatever, the liability in case of an insurance, in case of an accident. I would think that a feasibility study wouldn't be a bad idea. Project the numbers that you are projecting to keep your business going. The number of traffic, the possible number of traffic it would be going to the south. I don't care about the traffic going to the north. Obviously, I've skied and everything out over the last 40 years out there. So I don't do that anymore. So that's not my concern about you putting someone in there. My concern is the safety and the liability of that. You have, when you project this particular pictures, right up these drawings, you show the possibility of that road opening up, and it will open up left and right to allow access and to allow flow of traffic out to exit. When you turn out and you've got an opening like this, that's Judy's yard. If you come to the east, that's Jack's yard.
All right, we've got your concerns on safety. We've got you and your wife's minutes there. That was very well done.
Yeah, they were all hers. I was just reading them. I told you she's the boss. I'm there for the food.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Can I just ask a question? You
Oh,
can
you
read
did.
my minutes.
Actually, he took you right. This is the public forum part right now, so. Is there anyone else that, okay? Go ahead and state your name and address, please.
I'm Val Vanderwall, and I live at 2985 Blair, which is the house right on the corner of Blair and Mellon. So it's gonna be directly across the street from us. Granted, you've got the buffer there with the residential area set apart, but still. I don't know if you've been around any event venues where there have been drinking and parties. It's kind of loud and rowdy. And I'm like, most events, I'm concerned about traffic. I have grandchildren and they play around our house almost every day. We moved from inner city Muskegon out to Dalton Township, beautiful, serene Dalton Township for the peace and quiet. This is not going to add to our peace and quiet. This is gonna add a lot of noise and disruption to our daily lives, seriously. And I'm concerned about the traffic minimum, but the noise and rowdiness, and in this day and age, alcohol leads to troubles, other troubles. And I know you can't get away from that, no matter where you go. But I'm concerned, I have very many concerns. Why put this venue in the middle of a residential area? Why put it in the middle of a residential area? It's not, it doesn't make any sense when there's tons of acreage across Whitehall Road that's already zoned for commercial. Why put that there? I don't think anybody in the neighborhood is looking forward to it. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Is there going to be a light put in front of McMillan? If we have this, we will need a light. Sometimes you have to sit there for a long time to get off of McMillan onto Whitehall Road anyway. And so we will need a light if you do go against all of the residents' hopes and let this be built there. We will need a light. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Yes.
Diana Lutz, I am at 877 West McMillan. I'm right on the very first house on McMillan, so I'm right next to Jack. I think that's the Jack that you're talking about. We've been there for 20 years now. I guess my biggest concern would be, we have a lot of pedestrian traffic going down McMillan, a lot of kids at all hours through the evenings and everything. So if this is gonna increase the traffic going down that road, that's been one of my major concerns. To be quite honest, I didn't think about the alcohol until you guys mentioned it. I've been on vacation for the past 2 weeks, so I just got the letter yesterday. We do have a lot of foot traffic, and we've actually, whenever I see a state cop or a sheriff or somebody, I've actually been trying to get them because the even cars speed down McMillan is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I think that is one of the biggest concerns. We have a lot of kids that are riding bikes and everything, so, and I agree with the light. We needed that years ago.
Anyone else? All right, 6:18, we will go ahead and close the public hearing.
Like, want to speak on behalf of any of that, or is that?
Is there anything? I mean, some of the concerns on there, do we need to respond at that point? Some of it we won't have. I mean, liability and,
With the applicant, we're just to address concerns.
okay,
Including from them too.
all right, well, we'll go ahead and give you.
No, but we could just talk about a few things, which I understand all of those are completely reasonable concerns. But number one thing to point out is that Greg and Crystal are also residents too. They'll be building a home right there on West McMillan, they have children as well. Safety is of their greatest concern as well, and within Crystal's business plans, they have operation hours of 11 PM. You have them always on the premises, and there would be things about, obviously, misuse of things like alcohol that is brought in by a vendor. If things got out of control, it would be Greg and Crystal's, first response to make sure that things were brought back to control if that would ever happen. As far as flow of traffic goes, you have a 20-acre parcel back there. As a land developer, this would be bringing much less traffic flow than if we were to go and bring residential housing or something similar to that matter. So the traffic flow is actually minimal in comparison to what 20 acres could be used for other uses. Their parking is an allowance of 80 parking spaces for the accommodation of their traffic flow. A lot of people going to these venues, safety and driving and not leaving with alcohol in your system. They're going to usually have some type of designated drivers that are going to be taking people home. Now granted, majority of them will be intoxicated, but often you have people that are taking the designated driving route. seeing how only 25% of the capacity can actually fit in parking spaces. So I understand a lot of your concerns there, but there would be, again, the owners are residents right there, and this would be a very big concern of theirs as well. So if I just kind of mentioned a few of those things that I know everyone's concerned about, but
All right. Had a chance to look at the proposal. We did get an update on it. It did have included, and there was the parking update and the setback. So any questions?
Casey did email me some comments that she had.
Okay.
Concerned with the number of parking spaces. She said that most of the ordinances for wedding venues that we saw put parking requirements at one space per 2 people of the event capacity. So she thinks 150 sounds more reasonable than the 75 minimum for 300 capacity.
Is there something in the articles about? Read it before, in regards to what I was gonna do, it was for a church. Sensible service, there was like a,
Yes, so it's for a banquet hall, or similar use, it's there's 1 parking space for every 4 persons allowed on the premises. So that would include caterers or outside vendors as well, if they're allowed at the same time.
So we have 2 things to consider here. One's the special land use application, and there's also the site plan review. Anyone has any? It's the C2 designation.
With the special land use, Steve, don't we need to limit it to just the wedding event venue building for now because everything else is so far down the road?
Yeah, we would limit it to be just the venue itself and the parking and the
So I
drive.
know you guys have the other future proposed stuff on there, which lets us understand the development, you know.
Yeah.
The overall intention of it, but the building construction is supposed to start within 12 months, so. If I'm correct, I think 12
Yes.
months, right?
They can extend it another year.
Right, so, but I guess I'm just looking to clarify for everybody, the special land use, I think you can only approve the event venue center, not cabins, office building, yada, yada, that would have to be a major amendment
yes,
later down the road.
the phase 2, 3, as we continue.
This packet here too, it says, I mean, additional parking would be added in future phases if required capacity too, so it's not like there's more likely to be more room to add more as we go. I mean, a person might not be as busy, so why make huge parking lot, you know, have need it.
And with that, the specific location we chose has adequate space to do that with setbacks and everything.
So it's been added in there. See that?
And I do apologize, it's not Rosino and Associates as the engineer on that. Without the,
did you say the road entry detail was Required by the road
It's
commission?
not required. If the road commission does decide that it would be required, we would make adjustments necessary. Now, from the road commission, in my discussion with them, they said they would have to come out to review and make sure that it's in compliance or not. We may have to make some adjustments to the ingress and egress and the compact base, creating everything that is necessary, but it might be in compliance with the traffic flow that they're trying to do with wedding venue. So one of the culverts as well, we discussed it, which is outlined in there. One of the culverts is adequate, would not need to be adjusted. The other one may. And that's in accordance with by, who was that discussing? I think it was Public Works. I know the health department rather, or the Fred Dow drain, wanted to ensure that the culvert would be okay for the traffic flow, and it did seem that it would be adequate, so. But if necessary, adjustments were need to be made to either of those things, they would be, that's something we would do.
First, we have the show. Is there any other questions anyone has?
Okay, discussion.
Has anybody allowed another question or are we pretty much shut it off?
Yeah, we just, once we close the public forum part, then we move on to the board review and then make the decision at that point.
Detail. These people, like the plan, business plan. I want to make a comment relative to the business. Maybe this would help clear things up. You know, being a wedding event location, I'm assuming that 5 days a week, or if not more, it's gonna be dead quiet with zero traffic. The business plan is shooting for 50 to 70 weddings a year. That's pretty aggressive. And then the gentleman that owns the property spoke last time about the property being, you know, just sitting there. And it's been kicked around. It sounded like, well, what could he do better to move this property off of his responsibility or ownership? I can think of a lot worse location or a lot worse applications for that business. And I think there ought to be some consideration for, a well-run business that's 80% vacant, quiet. So the thing about the traffic light, all the traffic, that's an issue. I live on Twin Lake. The summers are busy. I live on Middle Lake Road. It's like a freeway sometimes. Speed limit is 35, people drive 50 year round. There's no way to avoid that. And, I wouldn't want to misrepresent or have the traffic misrepresented. You live in this area, you see a lot of recreational traffic in the summertime. This is just the way it's gonna be. So anyway, those are my comments. I'll leave it at that.
Just to piggyback on that, I live on East Bar right over here and Michigan Adventures open every year. I can barely get off on Russell Road. There's never been a stoplight put up. I wish there was, but I don't think that we have that authority at all. It's not
Road commission.
something that we do. And not road commission.
Right.
So it's the traffic, but
You have a comment to this one.
I just have a quick question, based on the owner of the property, when it comes to liability. Is this taken in, like, are you guys liable for Michigan Adventure, like, it's the township, the board? The township attorney, I mean, or like the liquor sales or the Full Moon Saloon, I mean, do you guys, does any liability ever boil down to any of you guys?
No.
Okay, I just curious.
Get into the car.
Any residential areas directly across any of those spoken to businesses?
For Michigan Adventure, tons of residential area directly across.
They're gonna start going down Hamilton Road because they're gonna,
We just need to, I mean, keep this thing, at least we've went through the process here. We're at the point where we're actually to discuss this now, and any comments could be directed to the board rather than each other. It helps us out.
can,
Anyone?
Yeah, along with the, I'll make a couple of comments on your guys' concerns too, along with the liability assumption, I guess. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but, the township in no way is gonna accept any liability or have any liability on any traffic or accidents or anything like that. Everybody's got insurance, Muskegon County Road Commission is not gonna have liability. If anything happens, a drunk driver leaves there, goes across the road and crashes into the front door of the house across the street, they're gonna go right to those business owners.
They're gonna what?
Go right to the business owner. They're the ones that are gonna have all the liability in this for any additional traffic, potential accidents, anything like that. That's the first place anybody's gonna go if they see any type of fault on the business owner's behalf. Like somebody get too intoxicated, things like that, So they're not gonna come to the township or the road commission or anything else for allowing something to be built on a large parcel. As far as traffic, safety concerns, I get it. There's a lot of houses there. The only thing guaranteed in life is change and development. And the place has been for sale for a long time. You want to guarantee what goes there, buy it. Get together and buy it. Make it a neighborhood park. I don't know. But the only thing guaranteed is change. And it's a good large parcel. It's a big piece. The pedestrian traffic thing, once there gets to be enough pedestrian traffic, or the road commission, see if they'll add sidewalks, see if they'll add a bike path. They're the ones in control of all that. If they won't, but it's nothing we can do. Yeah,
I'm sorry, we have ditches there, there's no way to put sidewalks in.
they could enclose it with culverts. They could run pipe down through there. There's all kinds of stuff they could do. Same goes for the stoplight. That's strictly gonna be Muskegon County Road Commission. Nothing to do with Dalton Township or the planning commission, the board, any of us. And as far as the volume of traffic, look at other things. 85% of Michigan's adventure traffic goes down Raleigh Thompson. 2-lane road. McMillan's a 2-lane road. I understand it's not currently a high volume, but it's a 2-lane road. You got, I don't even know, 20 times the traffic coming out of Michigan's adventure than you're gonna have coming out of this place.
But then again, that's not a year-round business either.
That's correct. But as far as I guess what I'm trying to say is as far as the capacity of a 2-lane road, it can easily handle this.
is there a reason that they can't do the entryway and exit off of Whitehall Road?
They don't got the property
Not part of this.
out there.
It's not part of this parcel, so it's not what we're looking at.
Does anyone like to make a motion?
I do have a question for Steve too. As far as your analysis, Steve, with the potential for noise disturbances and methods of mitigation, what were you thinking on that as far as something beyond our current noise ordinance?
Well, if it were to become a problem, if noise complaints would be received, maybe putting in a contingency that would be, it could be rolled back. If it's,
Pull back the hours?
or rolled back to 10, but I just put that in there in case there is issue with noise contacts.
There's a rendering in our packet of the pavilion. For those of you that haven't seen it, it's totally closed. So BJ small band or whatever, I don't think it's gonna interrupt or, yeah, offend anybody.
We tried to bring it setback as far as we could to the lake with a bunch of tree buffer and everything we
It's
could.
not like an open air pavilion.
That would be more of a mitigation by having in mind too, but confinement in this location. No outdoor music at a certain point.
It's like any other, like any other business thing. So I would probably guys would have it like. A normal noise ordinance.
The normal noise ordinance does only pertain to businesses in a residential area. And so since this is zone C2, it's not technically a residential area, so it is adjacent to residences.
So we would need to list in their permit that we would want that to apply then if we did, because I mean, I kind of look at it as a residential area, so I mean, not, the parcel's not, but I mean, there's a lot across the street, so I wouldn't wanna be too loose on that, I guess, and make sure as neighborly as
What possible. with them is to apply the site plan or the special use.
Special use.
That would be special use permit.
Stephen, did the folks in the audience that were mailed this meeting notice, did they get any of these drawings of the proposal?
They did not.
Okay.
They were
Well, I'm
informed that
gonna
they
make
were-
one comment then. By the way, the owners intend to live on McMillan Road. West of the entrance, there's a residential lot there. It's pretty good size, so, for your information.
The thing to understand too is that this is the second or third commercial activity that we've entertained on this parcel in recent time. So, that's another, you're right up against all this other commercial. It's not like it's completely surrounded by residential. And it's one of several commercial activities that have been discussed about this property. It's only natural for over time for things to spread. And, I mean, the what of what they're doing, as long as it's within various regulations, it doesn't really matter to me as long as it meets the requirements for whatever it's doing. However, if you're gonna have a commercial activity in that lot, this is probably the best one you can possibly. So that's another thing to consider, but that's I guess that's all I'm gonna say about that. If you wanna control what happens on a piece of property, you have to own it. If what goes on the properties around you matters a lot to you, you have to own a bigger piece of property. But it's right up against all this commercial. There's been other things discussed, so.
Anybody like to make a motion?
Just in special land.
Yeah, we have to do it just in special. So special.
Can't put them both in the same motion or two separate motions.
Guess before we go to the site plan review, do we need to first approve? Or do we?
Together, the resolution, the resolution would be for both the site plan and the special use. The special use has to have the site plan. Part of the special use permit.
I'll make the motion to approve SU 22-03 and SPR 22-05 as written.
Or do we need to add anything in as far as the noise?
If you don't, then it'll just be as stated on their application until 11 o'clock as a cutoff time. You might want to add inside only or amplified noise and music inside only after a certain time frame.
Thoughts?
I think that would be a good idea. You're not planning on any outside music, you said?
Only possibly ceremonial, like music for, at the
Earlier.
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock hour, and then all DJ or, inside only.
I would thought if we allowed the racetrack, the extension to 11:45, heck, a lot louder than.
I have no problem.
All right, we have a motion and we have support. Go through. Dave, yes. Jesse? Yes. Todd?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Kevin? Yes. All right.
Don't invite these guys, they were all headed there to begin with.
What is basically do the public hearing option, and then we also have the voting on here. This still goes to the board. The board needs to sign off on this also.
No, it's just,
This one's,
Okay,
so,
no change.
okay, right?
it's only change.
Everything.
So that's not too.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll move on to
That concludes that section of business.
yes, yes.
Thank you. You guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget, you're in the minutes, we get 3 meals, right? I'm taking advantage of them suckers. I'm guarantee you that. You forgot to give your name and address.
All right, it is now 6:42, and we are going to open up we're gonna have the public hearing now for 3096 Pillen Road for the child care group home. We have the applicant here. Okay, if you'd like to step forward here and go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you're asking.
My name's Harley. Hoping to open a daycare on my house at 3096 Pillen Road. Had a lot of changes will have to happen to the property other than adding a 6-foot privacy screen to either side of my front play yard. For your guys' word blanking, excuse me, regulation ordinance, thank you. Other than that, there'll be no other changes to the property. Okay, I grew up there. I moved across the street for 14 years now. These are a handful of my neighbors over here that just came to support me. I know everybody in the area. They're all very excited about it.
Anything special? I mean, it sounds pretty straightforward. Any questions anyone has?
These are your neighbors that also have a childcare facility? Did I read that right?
They watch my kids sometimes.
No, there was actually, so I talked to Steve about that, but there's a different one that came up somewhere regarding the childcare facilities within within
Okay. All
That
right.
that's not this applicant, it was somebody else.
Okay.
That
My
was
mistake.
that was in our work session.
Yeah.
I got confused.
I misread that, so my mistake.
Yeah, no, from what I've looked up, there's no other childcare facilities within the designated range or anything else like that.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank
If
you.
we may ask if there's any questions, if anyone does have anything, we may ask you to speak on that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, it's 6:45. I will go ahead and open up the public hearing for 3096 Pillen Road. Anyone who would like to make a comment?
I got a
Yes.
question that, the ordinance that,
If you could just state your, if you could just name and address.
Where's 3143 Pillen, just kind of kitty corner from them.
All right, thank you.
The ordinance that says you have to have 6-foot barrier on the sides of her fencing there. She has actually a really natural barrier on both sides. So I'm thinking putting up some kind of barrier is actually gonna look worse.
It'll look pretty bad.
I agree. That's just my comment.
If we thought about doing private, Travis and co-owner with her 3096 Pillen, and we thought maybe doing privacy fence, but our house is built up, so you would still see right into the play yard, so. Yeah, we have a natural barrier on both sides. Other than in the winter, the leaves do fall off, so you kind of can see the neighbors.
I think her comment was just we laughed about putting the barrier up because it's we have a really nice natural tree line on both sides and it naturally very barricaded, so.
Any other comments? All right, at 6:47, we will close the public hearing. Again, this is a site plan review and a special land use. We can do those together or separately, but doesn't appear to be too many, other than the fence, really the only thing that changes.
So that's just to keep kids in, right, the fence?
That's what I was thinking.
But there's a fence already there, a 4-foot
Yeah,
fence, so it's see-through, so they want a 6-foot privacy fence.
The neighbors from it,
So
because in the front yard it's on 4-foot.
Yeah.
I think it's, the intent was to screen your neighbors. They were probably thinking, oh, it's gonna go all the way to the property line. But this isn't the case here. Discuss later when we discuss these standards.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
If we can grant waivers from four standards, just the other standards.
So it requires a 6-foot high fence if there's a, for a property line that joins a dwelling, if there's a dwelling adjacent.
And no matter the footage away from the property line.
Correct.
Make better hockey goals on a 6-foot tall, that's one thing I can see, so that would be.
Somebody get a black eye at that point.
Get around.
It's pretty, yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean,
Side or sides of-
or sides of the outdoor areas that adjoin another dwelling. Facing areas that do not include an outdwelling is just 4 foot.
The 4-foot would remain in the front, but the 6-foot's on the sides, okay.
You can always approve it, with the condition that screening can be removed if the ordinance. Actually change.
Any other questions anyone has?
I don't have anything. I'll make a motion to approve SU 23-04 and SPR 23-06 for childcare group home at 3096 Pelham as presented.
All right, we will do a roll call. Dave, yes? Jesse?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Kevin?
Yes.
All right, congratulations.
Yeah, it'll be done. It's like they don't need a lot of fences.
Yeah, it's good done. It's not a lot. All right, we are up to, let's see. Aaron, are you here? All right. If you want to go ahead and give us a rundown of what you're looking for here.
Yeah, name's Aaron to cover like Schnuffle Campground. We're looking to put a new pavilion on, or put a pavilion if we don't have one right now. We're doing all our events on the actual basketball court. And we'd like to put that in, cover it, of course, and put a back wall on it to, for noise. We also would want to, current basketball court, move it to the west so we can get a new one for the campers. And then we would also like to there's a chain link fence out there right now, it's pretty old. And instead of replacing it with that, we would like to put a privacy fence, not only to keep the noise down for us, but for any neighbor that would possibly come there across the street. And right now, there's no one, but I mean, as you're sitting there, people drive by, it's pretty loud in there. And I know down there, farther down, we have a privacy fence already halfway down there, and it's a lot wider.
Can you explain what your business is? I'm not real familiar with this.
It's just a campground. Yep.
It's open to RVs.
Yep. Tents.
Travel trailers, tents.
It's all public campground.
Okay.
Or private campground.
Questions, Aaron?
All right, thanks. If we have any other, we'll be sure to ask. We'll go ahead. It's 6:52. I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing at 6:52.
I also have a few questions. It has nothing to do with him, if I can ask.
Okay.
About the childcare. When are we gonna go to that? Did we skip that about childcare being right next door to each other? About the zoning, Steve?
That'll be during the new items, after
Okay, making
the.
sure I didn't miss that. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, it got to be added.
Oh, okay, perfect.
We didn't make the meeting last week.
That's what was part of our confusion tonight, was we thought we were at that point, but we will actually be having that new item for this tomorrow. Anyone have any other questions or any other comments? Okay, 6:54, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Thoughts?
What they want to do. Yeah. I don't know if anybody drove by there, but I mean, like you said, there's already wood privacy fence halfway down, or 3/4 of the way down or something. I mean, there's just a couple of feet that doesn't have it.
We do all of our activities up there anyways, where we're gonna put the pavilion, so there's nothing really gonna change, like, in that area.
Do that.
And that would take care of the special land use then and the site plan review, looks pretty standard.
Building spec for that? I don't know. I mean, we're supposed to have something that shows, we're supposed to have something that shows. Envelope, I guess, right, so we know it's not, exceeding height and, I don't know. That's what. I hear the sidewall's gonna be in building, thinking.
I think it's 12, or 10 or 12.
If we give you the site plan approval, we have to put a building as far as the dimensions, and then you'll be locked into that as far as the size. You can't exceed that, so.
Okay.
That's why usually we require something, give the pitch of the roof to, all the normal things. That's your property, you're not really bordering anyone that's, you have runoff or any of that stuff, but that's for those reasons, we have to have something in there.
Okay.
It's always nice to have someone who does building. There are actually two people who do that for a living, so we can use them. We rest up while they do the calculating. You good? Okay. We're gonna say what was the dimensions that we're gonna ask to be approved? It
says 30 by 40.
Yeah, 30 by 40. So you'll be locked into that. And again, the pitch and everything, if you stay with the wall height and everything will be.
Yeah, there's actually a building that used to be there that was 30 by 40. They tore it down, so we're just basically gonna put it right back to where it was, and I think it was 30 by 40.
Okay. Anyone that would like to make a motion?
Part of that motion also needs to be modifying our requirements. Modifying the setback requirement to allow an accessory building 12.9 feet from the front lot line. And a 6-foot wood stockade privacy fence on the front property line.
Anyone like to?
I'll make a motion to approve SU 23-05 and SPR 23-07 to include 30 by 40 pavilion as well as a 12.9 foot setback for a for the building, as well as a 6 foot tall privacy fence along the front property line.
Support. Here. Dave, yes. Jesse?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Lee? Yes. John?
Yes.
And Kevin? Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have ordinance 2023-08 temporary special use permits, special event venues and enforcement process. Go ahead, we'll open up our public hearing at 6:59. No.
Step job.
We have a long ways to go.
I'll give you a gavel sign, we'll get you in there, but this is our, this is actually an ordinance that I think everything was in there, as we had discussed. Any comment?
We've been through.
This one's speed up pretty good.
Yeah.
This little storage unit, recreational vehicle.
All right, if we have no one making no comments, we'll close the public hearing at 7:00. I think we are, does this require board approval, Steve? Yeah. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-08 for temporary special use permit, special events venues, enforcement process as proposed.
I will support. Right, we have that motion. Dave, yes. Jesse?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Kevin? Yes. All right, that goes through to the board. All right, under next thing we have is communications. There's some township board meeting minutes from the April 10th meeting. Well, well done, Lee. You guys knocked it out.
I don't remember, I can't remember, barely remember yesterday, I don't remember last.
We were just saying, you know, a lot of times we read those and it's like a lot of information and then
I don't even remember. I know there's a lot of people there.
yeah, it was like a busy one.
Yeah, it's, oh,
Lee,
yeah.
I have a question, Lee. Has the board taken a look at this ordinance that we've amended at all? Do they have any notion of what these changes are?
No, I mean, now we will.
Okay.
It's just,
They
it'll go,
were- Yeah, okay.
we'll get the stuff.
It's
For next
something
meeting.
that the board asked.
I'm trying to get a feel.
Yeah.
And then,
We influenced.
selected.
It came as, this is when we were asking you.
Yeah, okay.
Usually when they place on the scent. All right, we are no unfinished business and we are up to new business, which we will now discuss.
Wasn't that long, planning commission work session.
We have our work session minutes. It's in that packet.
Child care group homes, item number 17, you're gonna be low out. I'm kidding.
Read out loud.
Actually, item number 1. So. What is the reason for, like, I mean, these are arbitrary numbers to me. I mean, 1,500 feet, is there something that, is there a state? There's,
It's, so I suspect it was a copy and paste from the state zoning enabling act, which says the township has to approve a special use permit for a group child care home if it's not, if it's more than 1,500 feet from another.
okay,
And then further down, it says, you know, these aren't the minimum requirements, these are just, you know, you have to approve it.
Okay, that's right, you have.
This is the maximum regulation you can do.
yes,
That is actually not a rule, for the state. I have, my licensing rep, she has asked me many, many, many times, why have you not went group? She's like, I will approve it, I will give you your license, but it's up to the township. So there, that is a complete
Township.
false rule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a state.
That is not a state rule.
It's a state zoning enabling act, which is not, it has nothing to do with daycare. That's
Right.
not a regulation on daycare, it's just telling the township, you can't regulate daycares past this point. So essentially, we adopted the maximum that we could regulate daycares. And that's kind of what we're talking about now, do you want to roll those regulations back?
Yeah, but you can have a,
yeah,
you can have a group home, but not a group and, or I mean, you'd have a group but not a family, and that's okay. But if we wanna go both
Yeah.
group, we have to get obviously approved.
Right.
Correct.
What's the definition of a group home?
A group home can have 14 children, and a family can have 6 children.
Which means you can only watch 6 for your shifts compared to 14, and then you wanna do 14, you have to have these certain regulations,
Sure.
which makes it less openings for daycare when you can only do 6 compared to 14.
And there's already there's a shortage in childcare. I turn away people daily. I get phone calls daily and I have to turn them away because I'm not licensed for 12, I'm only licensed for 6. And you can only have certain number of kids per age group as well.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are struggling to find daycare for kids under 18 months old.
Hey, gentlemen, thoughts on that one?
Seems pretty arbitrary.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one of these accessory building things, but I mean,
I don't see any reason why. I mean, even if they were next door to each other, like.
wouldn't that be a benefit?
Yeah,
We are
That's
next.
what I mean. It's like,
Noise ordinance, cover that. Yeah, right next door. There's no rival gangs going on between the kids.
That's right, yeah. So like Steve said, I mean, it won't up in here because that's the maximum that you can control as a township. And this township has historically never been business friendly as far as I'm concerned at all. I mean, historically, it's always been how much control can we have? That's what we want. Which is pretty much the nature of government, right?
Yes.
But here again, you know, and I agree with 100%. I mean,
Would you say that this area is growing in terms of young families and kids?
yeah.
Yes,
It
I
is.
have a license for 10 years now.
That's a good thing.
This is a must, for sure.
Okay.
It's bringing in a lot of people into Dalton Township, in my concern. I mean,
Yeah.
when I used to come out here, it wasn't this crazy. It was just Michigan Adventure.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I'm glad to hear that because there's a lot of retirees, but yet it's
Well, I have a
good.
lot of, older generation on my road and they're not complaining, so.
Yeah.
Good.
But, you know, it's good, it's just one of those things, you know, daycare's gotten extremely expensive, right? And the more you open it up to more competition, capitalism takes over, drives
Yeah.
price down, which is what we want. It's good for everybody.
Yeah, kind of like the one that she's over in daycare on Pill, and I looked over, I said, you got competition? She goes, no, I don't, it's not, it's far enough away.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. More available options. Yeah.
That's a very positive thing.
She said there isn't really any daycares around in Dalton Township. There's like, I think maybe 2 or 3 other ones that are legally licensed. It's that.
Our job is not to be kingmakers. It's not like you're building landmines or something like.
We're trying to watch kids.
Or making, drunk driving.
We would just take that, and that one takes care of that situation where they could upgrade.
It's very interesting.
So what do we do?
Do we need to take the,
So we could waive the one
We just
situation, or we could just remove that from the ordinance.
It might be more appropriate to remove it, because these are, now we're getting to the more hard standards of the use itself
Probably.
instead of the general requirements of the ordinance.
It's gonna come up again, perhaps.
Yeah.
Down the road.
people don't believe us, but you see that little, poster board down there? The little poster board right there, that used to be the entire book that we now possess. So we are kind of committed to seeing what we can do to pull things out that just,
It's just nonsense.
Don't need to be this.
yeah.
The way this reads, it says 1,500 square feet away, so that's not very far.
Right.
It's just a typo, I think.
It is.
If we were to make a motion, or at this point to have a discussion about that, we have to do that again, and but this need to.
Yeah. Get that in the ordinance.
Well,
Yeah, it's in my-
So,
Nothing gets past us.
Public hearing.
I don't think we can yet, because it's not on our agenda, no, it's just discussion. So I don't think.
It would just come.
I don't think we can.
Next month, right?
We would have
Well,
to
Steve's
write
got,
it.
Steve's got to write a draft, and then we'll come back.
This would be easy, just release that section.
Get out the black pen and then we'll scratch away.
You guys remember the rest. Did you want to address the 6 foot tall screen there?
Was that in there too?
Yeah, that's also number 2.
What would be a reason for? I mean, I understand if it's fence is not gonna stop. No, it's, I mean, it's not a.
I mean, I think it's good if somebody doesn't really want a daycare next to their house, you know, at least there's a little bit of screening there for some kids or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
You want to give yourself.
It'd be nice if we had leeway, we could delete it if we wanted to on a case by case basis, like in this situation, we got both neighbors on both sides
Yeah.
there saying, yeah, we don't need it.
And don't
Then why
want
spend the
it.
money?
Yeah, there's actually, they both said they don't want it, you know, could be potentially. So is it,
Parent may find it, more secure to have a privacy fence around where their children are being cared for.
You already do.
I can see that.
Privacy fence, everything. She's already licensed for 6. We're just trying to get more children.
Cause there's such a shortage.
Yeah, we're on to something else already, now we're on defense requirements.
They reached up on the wrong type of fencing thing, but they're not saying that the fence to go through.
sounds like it'll be at the next meeting, so if you come to that meeting, you can speak to educate anyone who may have
Well,
that.
it'll be, yeah, right, yeah, well. Yeah, that'd be easy enough to add that we could waive the requirement. It says that, doesn't it say that at the beginning of the special use section, though, doesn't it say that we can waive it even not?
For, I think that's only for, I don't know if those apply to the specific requirements for special land uses. But then you could just waive anything.
Oh, 6.4, okay.
Yeah.
Mainly right now, there's 1,500 square feet, or maybe scratch it out. The 1,500 feet is the problem right now, right?
Yeah, that's the main problem we're addressing.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
so, but then, yes, we're gonna
Yeah.
get rid of
Get
that.
rid of it,
Right,
like
but
the
we were
fence.
talking about the fence.
Yeah, but I
though.
mean, is it, I mean. You got.
He's saying as long as he's amending the ordinance.
Oh, yeah, so you want to go
You
back.
have to have a fence on the sides,
Yeah.
it should be a fence that as long as it's amended fence. Yes.
The dimensional accessory dwelling units.
How was that?
So I'm back to this fence thing. I'm looking at this right now, Steve, and we could have done that for them. I wish I would have caught this. 16.4 A says in approving a special land use, the planning commission may modify such minimum requirements or may impose other or different minimum requirements. Based on relevant facts and circumstances. So I'm reading that as in this particular situation with the neighbors that were here, we could say, no, you don't need to do the 6-foot fence if you don't want to. Correct. Yeah.
I'm looking at this 1,500 feet situation. And it says here, the group childcare home shall be located at least 1,500 feet away from any one of the following: a licensed or pre-existing operating childcare home or childcare home, which that's what we're trying to get around right now, right? But then it must also be 1,500 feet away from a facility offering substance abuse treatment and rehabilitation service to 7 or more people, a community correction center, resident home, halfway house, or similar facility. So like, there's more to this than just trying to get 1,500 feet for your guys' situation. Like, I can see some
I
of
think
this.
that's the only thing we're gonna get rid of though. Just getting rid of 1,500 feet from another daycare.
Yeah, but leaving the other.
Right, not the way house and all that half house shit.
Yeah.
That's the 1,500. Yeah. I see your point on that. You wouldn't want no daycare that close to something like that.
No, we wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything that right?
What?
That we're already good with? I mean, we could, we don't,
I'm tending to err on the side of caution here
Yeah.
because
I mean, to me, it looks like it's,
Yeah.
I understand, it looks like to me you can modify it if it's justified, basically.
yeah, and I think if we get rid of that, we could just do a minor amendment to the special use to eliminate the screening. Because it still conforms with the ordinance. And it wouldn't cost them anything, we just administratively say, it's the requirement.
Gotcha. So we should leave the 6-foot requirement in there, I would think. I mean, we should leave it the way it is, because we can waive that if we want to.
I think it'd be good to say specifically, it can be waived in certain, like waived
Oh.
if it's,
Okay.
yeah, the planning commission can waive this if it's, you know, only, like, within the front yard, within the side yard setbacks, so if it's more than 15 feet from the side property lines, you know, it's not required because you're not right up to the property line.
That makes sense, okay.
Like administratively. Nothing reduce it down to 4.
Right. All right, then on to our accessory dwelling units. There's 2 different things to discuss on that. One is the accessory dwelling unit. Are you having some requests on this one, or?
Yeah, so I've had a couple people ask if they can build a second. Like a guest house or something for their parents to stay in, or
Yeah.
they can rent out for some
Mother,
dining.
daughter.
Yeah,
How does that work with your homestead exemption? I mean, are you gonna still be 100% exempted on the second building?
I'm not sure on that.
Because that would be great.
And typically the owner lives there.
Right.
That's out the spare unit.
You'd say it's my house, because my wife won't let me stay in the other one.
I'm not sure if they,
A better example is elderly parents
yeah,
Right.
that are cared for by the existing children, building a living space for them on the same property. They call it a mother-daughter suite or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm familiar with those that are generally attached,
yeah.
not detached.
There's options for both. You can build an addition, convert a garage, build a separate building.
Sometimes, yeah, separate kitchen and they might share laundry and, you know. But that's a practical thing if it can be maneuvered in our ordinances. as opposed
That's why
to,
I asked if it was something my parents were living in, I would hope that you'd get some kind of exemption rather than.
Yeah.
Going for land.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work.
adult cares.
I mean, I would say it would, they wouldn't, I mean, the tax laws are always changing, they always try to keep up with it, right? So as soon as they see a few houses out there that aren't getting taxed, non-homestead, they're gonna be all over it, and they're gonna change it. You know what I mean, to say that, well, your house can be homesteaded, but that can't, and
Right.
I would think today it's just all gonna be the same, you know, but.
Well, right now, I checked online just to see out of curiosity what would go up if I didn't have the exemption, and it was like a third more. It went from 21 or 22 to 34, like pretty huge. I couldn't imagine. Now I've got another house on the property, the assessment's gonna go up,
Oh, man.
and then the
Yeah.
taxes are gonna go.
To me, there's no need to change anything if it's proposed as an addition to an existing home and it fits all the setback, space, square footage requirements. And we don't have to know who's going to occupy that space or what's within that space, do we?
So if it's a separate,
But this reads like accessory buildings, upstairs garage lofts, and all kinds of other living arrangements.
and that's usually in regards to the attached units. Right now, it's only, it has a separate, separate unit, separate kitchen, bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
Septic
bedroom,
well, power.
facilities. Then it's, then it's a separate dwelling unit. So then it'd be a duplex if it's attached. And then those are only allowed in the R2 district.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do an ADU, you would, right now in the township, the only way it's allowed would be if you were to make a duplex under your addition.
Well, let's say somebody comes in and wants to have mom and dad move in and just build them a attached space, same address, one family. I think, I don't know.
There's nothing that says you can't do that.
But what about the people that wanna take care of their parents? They don't want them in the same house necessarily. So they
Right.
want them in a little shack behind.
Well, we surveyed a property last year, Dave and I, that had grandma living in the back, but I think she was in more of an RV type. Not to bring up a
Whole nother can of worms.
whole nother violation potentially, but yeah. But the idea of an addition,
She didn't come running out to us going, save me or anything like
No.
that. So it was, we felt pretty good about it. Like it said in here, Stephen, I see that'd be the other concern would be like whether you allowed the number that you could put on there. I mean, would there be a reason why anybody would go, I want one for mom and dad and one for grandma and grandpa?
Some people might want 2 or 3, they might want to max out
maybe there's a.
however many they can to maximize rental potential.
Or
I could see
disabled.
people, I could see people renting them out for,
Mhm.
Airbnbs or whatever.
Yeah.
Which,
In regards to the 2 units together, I'd have to consider them 2 separate dwellings. Just because someone could, you say you're gonna build it for your mother-in-law, but what happens when your mother-in-law dies? You might rent that out to someone else, and that's.
I don't understand. What would cause you to have to distinguish that as 2 dwellings? Would it be like the fact they want another kitchen or?
Yeah, just something designed for, the definition would be a building including a mobile home, manufactured home, designed. Dwelling unit is a dwelling designed to be occupied by not more than one family, having permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. So if it meets that criteria, it's its own separate dwelling unit. Well, there are times where you can have, you can have 2 kitchens, but if it doesn't have its own primary access,
Mhm.
then it's kind of
Yeah,
a
I know what
shaky
you mean.
area.
I'm not
And it would be good to
nitpicking, but I could
have
see,
that as ambiguous.
yeah.
There's ways, I mean, you could basically take today's ordinance, you could go put an addition on your house with another kitchen and a this and a that, and a walkway from this one to that one, and say, well, there's no door there. Have your door framed in, have it drywalled over.
Yep.
And on the outside, you just slide right out past the doorway that's framed in for the outside,
You see the
it's just an addition, right?
Then you
And then you pop in this door and cut out the wall and put in that door, and now it's a separate thing. So I mean, right now, you just get around it that way.
this is your corner.
Yeah,
And, you know, it's no different than
yeah.
floor drains and pole barns when you don't want to get a plumbing profession, you know. Everybody knows that, you just duct tape the thing over, of course, put over. Right, so. It'd be just making a way for people.
So now the inspectors do there walking around with a pole, fucking around.
They can't see it, they don't want.
I've seen
Anyways, but
these.
with the accessory dwelling unit, so we're talking about attached or detached, either one.
Yeah.
That way it's
Wait.
clear what's,
This is one of those that we can adjourn this until next month. I don't think we're gonna.
No, I
decide
just
tonight.
wanted to discuss it.
Yeah,
it's which way you're going.
yeah. And I've seen some great mother-daughter arrangements where that buffer was the laundry room.
Right.
L-shaped sort of deal. The main family's garage, grandma and grandpa actually had a garage too, but it all depends upon the space of the lot. So on.
I definitely think it's a good thing to allow. I just don't.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt lot coverage, you'd still probably be able, I mean, you still have to meet that, so it's not like you're gonna be able to go in.
My thoughts, I thought about this quite a bit a week ago, and I was thinking, you know, what if we, even if they were separate buildings, you know, why not just allow the same number as we do now for accessory buildings? So I don't care if you have an accessory building or an accessory dwelling unit, right?
Same thing.
Allow the same number of them. Cause you already have lot coverage, you can only have X amount of lot coverage.
Now I'm gonna tear my shed down so I can put up another little building right now.
But I
big
would
difference.
say too, because if it was gonna be inhabited, then to keep the setbacks the same as it is for the current housing unit.
Right.
So don't allow it within 6 feet of a lot line like you do the garage, but it'd have to be 25 feet, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
So keep the same
6 feet.
setbacks as a house, but allow the same number as we do for accessory buildings. So what do I care if you have a 300 square foot house with a kitchenette in it or a 300 square foot pole barn?
Typically, would you have a shared septic?
That's
You
where
have
it
to
gets
have-
tricky.
I think that's all gonna be up to the health department.
That-
right?
that's what I'm
So
wondering.
if
That's
sewer
not
they wanna
anything
get a
we
building permit, they gotta go get their well and septic permit first, and the health department's gonna say, hey, you have to put in a separate well, or you don't. Or you gotta expand your septic by X amount.
That's
They
beyond
have to
us.
do that before they get a building permit, so we don't need to worry about it.
Then another question I had is in regards to that lot that's a 1 acre lot inside the agricultural district. You know, typically the idea was 5 acres spread out septics.
Which typically offers more freedom or flexibility, right? It's ag.
Yeah, but it was also designed to spread out the septics, so there's not as much, it's not as taxing on the groundwater.
Okay.
So something like that that would be a potential concern that some people might have with, you know, if you have four.
But I don't know if you even could though, because the egg changes from what, 20 to 5% of lot coverage?
Yeah.
20 to 5, down
If
to
you have
5.
4 300 square foot buildings.
This is gonna sound rhetorical, but what we don't want is a mobile home in the backyard, correct? When it comes to separate dwelling.
Right now, they're not allowed, but he was asking us to look at that too.
Yeah.
It's the tiny house.
I don't know. I think it speaks
That's
to
another
a
thing, but.
double wide.
Yeah, double
That's-
wide would be permitted.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go.
Right. Single wides are.
Shove Graham in an RV. Want that.
But yeah, so I mean, that's a whole nother discussion. It's the minimum dwelling areas in mobile homes and tiny houses and.
You know, they have that area now over on Lake Shore Drive, as you're heading out towards, and it's now, they have the tiny homes, like
That's the people that were here,
Yeah, they have like 4 of them there
I
now
haven't-
on
I
the lot.
haven't
I haven't seen it either.
right across from the Emporium.
Yeah, yeah.
Right down on.
I don't know if those are rental.
Yeah.
Is that what-
Probably.
Well, that, they were gonna buy that property that.
Yeah.
Avenue.
Right.
But they, I mean, I think that was their backup, this was their backup plan. They
Yeah.
wanted, I mean, I think it would have worked out better for them to go where they're at.
Oh, yeah.
Down right there
Those
by
neighbors
the
really would have had a
marinas and stuff.
problem with
Out here it'd be kind of weird, I think, renting tiny houses out, way out here, but
But you could see something like that if somebody had the property and they put it on their property here, that would be one of the things you could. But you'd have to have the minimum 1,000 square feet.
which that's pretty big, tiny home.
Yes, that'd be, it could be a rather large accessory unit.
Yeah, I think we need to drop all those two, but.
that.
But then you could still potentially have a 1,000 square foot flare for the primary building. But the accessory clause, because that's secondary to the primary.
The state's minimum is 120. Just go with that.
That's small. I should, it's 200.
Exactly. No, but
Dang.
that's what the state's minimum is.
Get a mini toilet.
I kind of looked at, I spent a little time looking that stuff up. There's like 17, I think, if I remember right, there's 17 states in the US that don't have a minimum square footage per house.
Until the world still turns.
Somehow.
West Virginia. Kentucky.
Well, it's one of those things. I mean, I don't say I definitely want to look at it, reduce it. I think you reduce, because, you know, I mean, they're up to 240, 250 a square foot to build a house. So, you know, and we require 1,000 square feet. So
Yeah.
what are kids supposed to do when they're 19, 20 years old? They can't afford a $240,000 house plus property,
No. Yeah, I tried before.
you know?
Yeah, I think they have a hard enough time even inheriting a home, paying taxes and maintenance and upkeep.
I think we need to look at, I mean, gotta have stuff.
Let's tell them about the flag lots, the number of those. Yeah, the last ZBA,
You know,
we had 5 things come before the ZBA and 3 of them involved flag lots, that people wanted to put more than one home on a flag lot. And really, when the presentation's done, it makes sense. I mean, it's, all you're really doing is, a lot of times they were able to do it with the home sizes on there were, it had to be a minimum of an acre, and they were able to meet that criteria. They were able to do everything they needed to. It's just a shared driveway. And that's the only thing that came off there. And
I think it's kind of weird too. I have 5 acres behind my parcel, but it's a flag lot to get to it.
And the flag lot is you're allowed 2 homes.
The flag lot, you're allowed one. But if we're an easement, through a different lot, they could strip us two.
Here.
so I think we should just have another work session. We should just have the stuff at our work session this month on.
Yep.
Section.
Yeah.
Put it together and we'll do another one.
Flag.
Yeah, like,
I throw it in there because there's,
Problems with
the
them.
fact we had 3 of them in one, 5 of them in one meeting was weird, but 3 of them being the same thing.
Well, it wouldn't hurt them, I guess.
That's
The thing is, I mean, when, just the way the inflation and everything is, like, people are starting to get creative. That's my you know, they're like, what can you do with what you already have? Because it's too expensive.
All right. Well, that finishes up new business. That takes us to,
I got one thing before we go. Do you have anything else?
What would I all have to do? Like, I know that there's a $600 fee, and Steve was saying that there's another $250 fee.
There's a $600 fee for a special use application because you would have to get a special use.
Yeah, and then he was talking about another $250 fee.
for the site plan.
For the site plan.
And so what, like, who do I pay, like, all that paperwork from?
I can get you all that paperwork right after the meeting.
Okay, so are we getting rid of this, or are we waiting until another meeting?
We have, it's gonna take us 2 more meetings.
We have to discuss it at the next meeting. And then we would have to then put it up for public hearing. Following. So it takes about a 2-month. We are one of the few townships that has a recurring monthly meeting. Sometimes you gotta get on an agenda and nothing's there. And you might have to wait 2 months or 3 months just to get one of those steps. But we're pretty much a 2-month thing.
What's the? Yeah. Our June meeting, Steve's gonna have a draft, right? And then we have to
Yes.
approve that. And then it's gotta be at our July meeting for a public hearing and an approval. And then it has to go to the board.
That would be
August.
August. The second Monday in August, and then 2 weeks after it's published in the paper that we made the zoning ordinance change, then it would be effective.
So if everything goes perfect, it'll be effective September 1st.
So August, the last Tuesday.
It's just government.
I totally get it, like,
Yeah, I can take a look
all
at
the time.
I can take a look at the calendar, and it might be effective on, it might be effective in time for the August meeting. We could potentially do an August hearing.
So when would you guys suggest me having all the paperwork and everything in by, and like, what is $850?
Either early August or early September. I will look at the calendar
Okay.
when the meeting's over and help with that.
That costs you nothing to call him. And that's it.
I've already talked to him like.
That will be your thing. And he pretty much feeds this to us to what forward. So it always good to know that.
Yeah, like I'm licensed for 6 right now. Like I said, I get calls daily. And I'm a sucker and I feel bad, like I turn people away. Like my licensing rep, she has asked me many times, and many other licensing reps for Laura has asked me, hey, why haven't you went group? I was like, I can't because, my township. And then I even have, right now, I do daycare for a total of 4 kids who are in foster care. There's so many foster parents who cannot work because there are no openings anywhere for childcare for those kids. And like, for example, I used to work for Crystal and Travis who were sitting right here. I used to work for them since I was a freshman in high school. I mean, granted, I've been out of school for 8 years, but recently in March of 2022, I opened my own daycare right next to them. So I've known them for years and years and years. So
We gotta close our meeting. Make a motion to adjourn. Have support? Support, okay.
Leave. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Trust me, he will, he'll get you set up. It's